Am I recording? God, I hate this camera. You notice all these these drawers here? They're for holding nuts and bolts and washers and all sorts of other things. And you know, it's sort of, I like to be neat about things. I recently just cleared a bunch of old junk out of this one so that it's available to use. And this is my collection of, well, antique tools and power tools of one kind or another. Some more over here in this old drawer. All my unsorted nuts, bolts, screws, etc. are in these cans over here. You notice all the Sir Walter Raleigh ones. Well, my dad was a pipe smoker, and they're his. He kept all the cans, and I'm glad he did, because they're just great for holding stuff. Anyway, here's some more toolboxes for, let's see, Allen wrench, wheel puller, chisels, punches, driver bits, stuff. Let's go over here. This is assorted chemicals for use around here. Some old ham radio stuff. That's a engine lift, and I've used it many times for things. That is one of the best things I ever bought at Harbor Freight. I recommend these things. This is only a 1 ton, but I could just replace that hydraulic, I think, and it would work with 2 ton instead. Pressure washer. Of course, you need a pressure washer. Here we have a generator, just in the event of total disaster, and it works pretty well. This is an old freezer, but it's I've used it for well, it's actually got Dad's old chemicals in it, and that is my collection of just stored stuff. I guess you'd call it just stored stuff. But over here we have, these are spare motors of one kind or another. That red and white toolbox will go in my truck if I ever get around to rigging it so that it'll fit. And this is my working with metals scrap collection, you might say. Here's my huge drill or socket sets stuff, and other associated boxes for tools. The red one there is for antique tools, and that one's for extremely long tools, and that's pipe wrenches. This is nuts, bolts, screws, washers, little things that one might be able to use. All of these drawers are. All of this stuff here, these are molds for casting bullets. You never know. And here's the results of those castings. Hammers. These are hold downs mainly. I never could afford a hold down kit, so I made my own out of big bolts, square nuts, and bits of metal. So this acts as my hold down set for the mill. You can see there's a lot of ammo down here, and those are all bullets that I made. Well, most of them I made. Here's some reloaded ammo. C-clamps, more hammers. Here's some bullets, the ones I'm processing. Here's my mill. It's a Jet 16 that's been adapted, one might say. And you'll notice this. I would like to have a real mill vise, but I don't have one. But what I do have is this. This was a lot cheaper. This is actually a, what's it called? Shop Fox. It's a Shop Fox vise that it works pretty well. I use it in lieu of a real one. That more belongs on a drill press. But my drill press has a different sort of Shop Fox vise on it. This one here that has a XY axis, and you can crank it any which way. I love it. So that with that plus the table it's mounted to, I have a Z. So I can put things in just about any configuration I want. This is mainly my office, my desk, you might say, but in reality this is an old desk that I got for, I think, $1 at Goodwill, and it's worked pretty well for me. I mounted a vise. You'll notice the boards on top of it here. Those are actually the rails from a Model T garage that was torn down, and I grabbed the rails because I figured I could use them, and I did. Those and the desk that the Jet 16 is sitting on are the rest of the rails from that. There's plywood on top of it, but and there's plywood on top of it here. But the actual rails are, this section of wood here is just phenomenally thick. This is some scrap tube plywood that I had that I used for just hanging shelves on. And it's kind of fun because on the other side of it, let's get over. Well, first of all, keep that in mind. I'll show you in a minute. Here's my collection of drill bits. You can see I have, well, a number of them. This is my unsorted drill bits and more semi-sorted drill bits. And I have these caddies. I don't know how many of the caddies. And I have drill bits from ginormously huge to itty-bitty small. This is kind of fun. This is a welding cabinet I picked up for $6 at Goodwill. Now, I'm always in the market for things like that. You never know. And now that I have that set up, I've been wiring that over there as I'm wiring some 220 in, because I'm thinking of plugging in a. There's a what was called Everlast has this really cheap was a DC and TIG welder that it looks interesting. I'm interested in getting into that. Here we have my pliers collection. Quite an interesting collection of pliers. Picked that up at a used thrift store, and it works pretty well for sorting out different kinds of pliers. Here's my surplus scrap and junk vices that I've been working on. Most of them are totally, well, we'll get to that. This is a Kennedy toolbox. I picked that up from the interwebs, and it's kind of fun. I keep really antique things in it. Like this is a dial indicator. Believe it or not, that is the old equivalent of a dial indicator, and it appealed to me when I saw that on eBay. I just had to have it. These are the collets for the drill mill, and a collection of these. I have all sorts of things, wrenches, 1, 2, 3 blocks, stuff. Extra Dremel tools. Dremels are, oh, wait a minute, I think they're in, yeah, this is my Dremel drawer. This is, well, mainly extra end mills for the mill. Shop vac, that looks like a cement mixer, but it's a cement mixer loaded with steel pins. What you do is you fill that full of water, a little bit of dish soap, some Limi-Soft, and a whole bunch of brass, and turn it on outside and let it go slosh, slosh, slosh for a while, and you clean all your brass. Works better than any of the other systems I've seen. Anyway, this was part of a pantograph system, which was a kind of printer that was in use back in the 1950s. Let me show it to you. I don't have a granite plate, but I have this. And what is this? This is a really, really, really thick piece of glass. Glass, as you know, is extremely smooth and to the molecular level is flat. So it works out pretty dang well as a means of keeping things flat for indicating stuff. I picked up a few of these, and they're kind of fun. This, I picked that up surplus, and well, that's just a abrasive wheel I have on it so that I can turn it on and you know, polish stuff. This is my table saw. I don't use it much as a table saw. I use it mainly as just as a bench to hold things. But that's my table saw. I had an old table saw. It never worked. So I put a steel plate on top of it, welded that in place, and made this into basically a welding table. For this and for, there's my welder. That's an old Lincoln, it's called a Tombstone AC only stick welder. But I'm teaching myself welding with that. And here we are back to this. Pipe cutters, gloves, rags. That toolbox holds files. And here's my This is my Dalton lathe. Pretty, isn't it? I restored that from a pile of rust, and I'm rather proud of it. And it works like a champ. Let me show you. Added this to it, so I can go forward and reverse. And then I go over here and turn this switch to turn it on. And you notice it's still not on. Well, I've got a foot paddle. Oh shoot, I turned it off. Huh. There we go. You can see it's in the back gear. Kill it. Now the other side of the plywood is where I keep my big honkin' wrenches. And as you can see, they ain't small. And, okay, the Sawzalls and the like. This is my mechanics toolbox, and I keep my sockets, open and box in wrenches, and drivers like this. And it's there for things you might need. I have other specialized tools and other toolboxes. Some over there, some over here, some that are packed away, some in that cabinet, some in other cabinets. But anyway, that's a look at my shop, such that it is. Most of this stuff was used, surplus, or junk. For instance, this, see this, that's an old junk motor that I picked up. And then I got this from my ex-father-in-law, and I put them together with some brushes, and watch this. See how quiet that is? Works like a champ. That saw there, picked that up at Goodwill for I think 40 bucks. I had to put a new motor on it. That cost me 10 bucks. Yep. And a new saw blade, and I think it cost a whole 30 bucks. So it was what I spent almost the most on. This is my anvil. It's just a piece of railroad track with that I ground that flat and then heated it up and dunked it in oil, and it's pretty solid. I'd rather have a real anvil, but until I get one, that'll do. This I'm trying to build a table sander, a big sander out of. Haven't gotten there yet, but you know, we're working on it. These tables here, they're the kind that you'd find in a school. Pick those up at Goodwill, cheap. You'll notice the price tags on the end there, because they put a price on it, and no one wanted it, and no one wanted it, and no one wanted it. I think I got it down to 5 bucks before I paid for it. I just kept coming back and saying, okay, it's down to 20 bucks. Nah, too much. Well, when it was down to 5, I thought, well, it'll fit in the pickup. Okay. And I brought it home, and they make a great workbench. This is my ex-father-in-law's old workbench. It's literally falling apart, but it's still here if I ever need it. Oh, and this is my first lathe. This is a small Grizzly micro mini lathe, and it works. Let's see, I haven't turned it on in ages. Let's see if I can turn it on. Nah, I don't have it plugged in. Oh well. Wait a minute, it is plugged in. What's going on here? What's going on here? Let's see. It's not working. I don't know why it's not working, but it's not. There. Just had to spin it a little bit. There. I think I need to oil that. Anyway, it works, but the jaws on that thing suck. Anyway, that's my shop, such that it is. But you gotta admit, other than the noise of that highway over there, this is pretty much like heaven.